Welcome! In this explainer, we're going to tackle one of the coolest things about the Indian Constitution. How in the world does a document from over 70 years ago still run the show today? We're going to find out how it adapts, how it breathes, and how it stays so relevant in a country that's always changing.
All right, let's jump right in. Here's our game plan to get you totally exam ready. We'll start with the big puzzle, then get into the game-changing basic structure doctrine, check out the role of the judiciary, and see how it all comes together to create a truly living document.
So, let's kick things off with the central puzzle, a real head-scratcher. Society is always growing, always evolving, right? So how can a fixed rulebook from way back then possibly keep up? Yeah, just think about that for a second. The India of 1950 is worlds away from the India of today. So this is the fundamental challenge. The Constitution needs to be a stable foundation, but it can't be so rigid that it just snaps under the pressure of all our new realities. It's a really delicate balancing act. And here it is, the answer and the core idea for today. The people who wrote the Constitution were brilliant. They knew it couldn't be some dusty old text frozen in time. They built it to be dynamic, to actually respond to new things. And that flexibility, that's the real secret to its survival. Now this brings us to a huge turning point. For a long time, there was this massive debate, a real tug-of-war between Parliament and the judiciary about who really had the final say. Let's dig into the ingenious solution that came out of it. Okay, if you're taking notes, this is one you need to star, highlight, whatever you gotta do. 1973, the Keshavananda Bharti case. This wasn't just another court case. It was an absolute game changer that completely reshaped how the Constitution evolves. And what came out of this case was the basic structure doctrine. Now here's the crazy part. You won't find this phrase written in the original Constitution anywhere. It's an idea the judiciary came up with. It basically says, look, Parliament, you can change the laws, you can amend things, but you cannot touch the soul of the Constitution. You can't change its fundamental identity.
So these rulings drew a brand new line in the sand. Parliament's power to amend, which many thought was unlimited, suddenly had boundaries. So the big question was, who's the referee? Who decides if Parliament has crossed that line? The judiciary. With this, the Supreme Court basically became the ultimate guardian of the Constitution's core principles.
So does that mean the judiciary always gets the final say? Well, not exactly. This ruling didn't end the conversation. It just changed the rules of the game. It set up this fascinating ongoing balance of power. And this illustrates that balance perfectly. Think of it like a constitutional seesaw. On one side, you've got Parliament, representing the people making new laws for new times. And on the other side, you've got the judiciary, acting as a check, making sure those changes don't accidentally wreck the very foundation of our democracy. So while Parliament has the power to write the laws, the Supreme Court became the final interpreter of whether those laws are in tune with the Constitution's fundamental spirit. They decide if the new laws are playing in harmony with the original vision. This is where things get really interesting. See, the Constitution doesn't just change through those formal amendments. It actually evolves through how it's understood and applied day to day by the courts. This is literally how the Constitution breathes. So imagine a new issue comes up, something the original writers couldn't possibly have predicted. The courts don't just look at the old text. They dig deeper. They ask, what was the spirit of the law here? What value were they trying to protect? And their answer, their ruling, actually updates the Constitution for our generation. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It's not just about the exact words on the page, the letter of the law. It's about the bigger idea, the spirit behind it. It's about respecting the fundamental intent of the document, the values of democracy, liberty, and justice. And this isn't just theory. Look at these real-world examples. The Constitution itself doesn't mention a 50% cap on reservations or a creamy layer. No way. Those ideas came from Supreme Court rulings interpreting the right to equality. And get this, the right to life has been interpreted to include the right to a clean environment. That's the Constitution evolving in action, all through interpretation. So what's the big takeaway here? This constant back and forth between Parliament and the judiciary, is that a sign of a problem? The answer, you might be surprised, is a big no. What this doctrine really created was a perfect balance. It ensures our core values, our democracy, our fundamental rights are rigid, they're protected, they can't just be changed on a whim. But at the same time, it allows the rest of the Constitution to be flexible enough to adapt to a changing India. So in the end, you have to understand that this tension isn't a flaw to be fixed. It is the feature. This ongoing debate, this push and pull, is actually the engine that keeps our democracy healthy, dynamic, and incredibly resilient. Hey, if this explainer helped clear things up and you want to get exam ready, do us a quick favor. Hit that like button, share this with your friends, drop a comment with your thoughts, and most importantly, subscribe to the A1 Institute YouTube channel. It really helps us keep creating content just like this for you. And that's a wrap for part 1. We have only just scratched the surface here. You are definitely not going to want to miss part 2, where we'll continue our deep dive and look at how the amendment process itself works. So make sure you're subscribed, and we'll catch you in the next one.